What's going on? It's been a minute on this channel. It is the 21st of July, a Monday, and thank you for your patience throughout the start to this summer. I have obviously not been as consistent over the last month or so as I would like, but certainly not for a lack of other commitments and a lack of other projects and you name it. So obviously most of you probably have been following along on the vault, and now that football season is here, given that the vault is year round and there can be a shortage of content this time of year, it is time to start doubling up and giving you 2 streams per day or so. I'll do my best. Obviously, September through January, I try my best to provide exactly that. Sometimes there's things that get in the way. Sometimes there's just so much on the plate that you have to take everything into account and make some tough decisions because of only being so many hours of daylight to work with. So anyway, this episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. I'll get to them in just a bit. If you could, on the way in, please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell so you can be notified of when I'm dropping my daily live content. And here's what I have for you. 1, Lamar Jackson sure could be putting on his general manager hat yet again. I'll tell you why that might be the case. We'll take a look at what a Jadeveon Clowney reunion might look like and what he just told Josina Anderson recently. And Ryan Clark thinks the Ravens are under more pressure than a specific team in the NFC, which comes as somewhat of a surprise. It wasn't a surprise to me just because for a living, Sarah and I have to kind of gather and follow along what these national talking heads continue to put forth. So all of that and more is what I have coming up. So good to have you here. And let's begin with this. Sarah and I covered it briefly earlier this afternoon, but I wanted to get into more of it now because could you or would you be open to a reunion as a fan with Matthew Judon? Judon, of course, was selected by the Ravens out of Grand Valley State and turned into a positive success story for them. Was a headache at times, but was a game wrecker, and they developed him. So much so, New England backed up the Brinks truck for him several years ago. He spent this past season in Atlanta. He's now 32. Numbers have declined significantly, but could he potentially fit the mold that Justin Houston, Jason Pierre-Paul, Kyle Van Noy at a higher level these last couple of seasons, that void that those players and more have filled? Could he? I think he could. Do I think there's a better option out there? Probably. I'll get to him in just a second. But just so that we're being thorough, I am Jay Oliver, 410 on Instagram. Good Baltimore follow. Tweeted out at Lamar, or commented Lamar, hey man, we're trying to get man damn, meaning Judon, back over there and make this push, meaning a Super Bowl push, a playoff push, everything in between. Trying to recruit Judon back to Baltimore. And Lamar reposted this on Instagram and said, Baltimore is home. There's a fire emoji. There's the purple devil emoji, which is my favorite. But there's also the crossing a finger or fingers emoji. As if to say, like, man, I kind of hope this happens. Would you be open to the idea of bringing Matthew Judon back into the fold in Baltimore? He remains unsigned right now, and as Jeff Zaribek noted in his recent piece on The Athletic, he isn't the only one of this mold that remains unsigned. Jadeveon Clowney is another. Zadarius Smith, both of whom, yes, are still free agents, but are also former Ravens, have a familiarity with the program. Paul M. wrote into Jeff and said, do you see Baltimore signing either of them before or during camp? Keep in mind, get your calendars out. Full veteran status is tomorrow. Everybody is at one winning drive starting tomorrow. Jeff wrote back to Paul with the following. The Ravens like their young edge rushers and believe they need to play to appropriately develop. I don't think they want to reduce the snaps of Kyle Van Noy, Odafe Owe, and Tavius Robinson any more than the presence of Mike Green and a healthy Adisa Isaac already could. You can never have enough pass rushers, but adding Clowney or Jadeveon Smith would impact what production you get from the guys you already have. You can only play so many guys. I'd include an asterisk next to my answer and wouldn't rule it out because I could see a scenario in which the Ravens use the first few weeks of training camp to evaluate the young edge rushers. If they don't think they're ready to make an impact, they could turn to Clowney or Smith. I totally agree with this. And I think the jury is still out. And we'll learn more after a hefty sample size for Ravens brass to observe, learn, evaluate, and then ultimately make a decision after some training camp has been consumed by the powers that be. And I think anything more than that would be grasping a little bit, making a premature move, let's call it, from a team building standpoint. Josina Anderson, friend of the show, NFL Insider, had a chance to catch up with Jadeveon. And he told her, quote, I've been keeping in touch with 4 to 5 teams. He's still planning to play this season. And as Josina wrote, teams will get a much better idea of what they have and don't have as training camps start to get going. The funny thing about Jadeveon, and particularly how much of an outlier last summer was for him, he actually participated in a training camp for the first time in years. Now, Jadeveon is 32. He's the former first-round pick all the way back in 2014 and had a tremendous campaign, as we all watched, the year that the Ravens went to the AFC Championship in 2023. I still think he has left. I think he's got more left in the tank. And I think he would be the best fit of the three between Judon, Clowney, and Smith. Za'Darius, a couple years ago, you wonder if the Ravens front office would even want him back after he kind of toyed with them and ultimately went elsewhere. Spent 21 and 22 in Cleveland. Or excuse me, that was Jadeveon. Za'Darius, you got to keep up with him, man. He feels like he is on 1 or 2 teams a year. He spent last year in Detroit. Prior to that, he was in Cleveland, 23 and 24. And prior to that, he was in Minnesota. That's when the Ravens were going after him. And prior to that, he was in Green Bay. And, of course, he was drafted, spent his first 4 seasons as a Raven beginning in 2015. So, of the 3, I ask you live chat, who you taking? Za'Darius Smith? Well, actually, you know what? There's 4 options. I'll give you 4 options. Are you taking Jadeveon Clowney, Za'Darius Smith, Matthew Judon, or are you riding with what you have? I think that's probably a fair way to look at this. 2 of the 4 are familiar. Jadeveon's familiar. Za'Darius is familiar. Matter of fact, 3 of the 4 are familiar because Judon was a Raven as well. So you got familiarity with 3 of the 4 options. And I'm not saying the 4th option, given maybe you're the most familiar with the 4th of all because they're in the building. But you could also say that maybe has the biggest risk attached to it. Because let's face it, outside of Odafe Oweh, who continues to stack, contract year for him coming up, outside of Kyle Van Noy, who's on the other side of 30 but continues to put forth resurgent, impactful seasons, and outside of a blossoming Tavius Robinson, do you feel really confident in what you have at outside linebacker? I mean, can the staff truly feel good going to bed at night that they have the depth that they need? They're going to say publicly that they're fired up about it. That's exactly what Chuck Smith did earlier this offseason during a press conference. We can feel tremendous about the potential of Mike Green. I don't know how his game translates to the NFL level. I would think he's going to start in a rotational capacity and then build from there. There's tremendous reason for excitement to given what you think you have for him and given what you got him in the second round. One of the biggest bargains in the entire draft after he fell due to the off-the-field stuff. Adisa Isaac, a second-year player, lots of question marks around him. Same thing with David Ojabo, who I think his immediate future in Baltimore is murky, to say the very least, when it comes to making this 53-man roster. So, long story short, take a look at what you have over the next few weeks. I'd have to think one of these three that we're talking about between Judon, Clowney, and Smith will still be available on the market. And should you be in dire need or in a situation where you could use their services, honestly, knock on wood, hopefully that's not the case. Because if it's not the case, that means that Mike Green made an immediate presence felt. Right? That means Tavius Robinson continued to look the part after a really solid, reliable season last year. Maybe that means an Adisa Isaac takes a step. And maybe that means that Odafe Owe is showing signs that he can back up his first double-digit sack campaign that he gave you a year ago. But until you see those signs, until you feel comfortable with what you have, and not just comfortable on paper, because we all know this is the time of year where paper champions are crowned. And so until you get past the paper vision, probably going to want to keep a couple of these doors open. This episode is brought to you by my friends at Preston Automotive Group. It's so good to be back with you guys in live formatting on the Bobby Baltimore channel. Go check out the Discord server if you haven't already done so. It's a growing community, and we're coming up on 900, hard to believe, 900 channel members, or I should say 900 Discord community members. The channel members are something that Sarah and I are having a blast with, and I will just say they are now available. That feature, that tool is now available on this channel as well. So if you'd like to become a channel member, you can do so. Would love for you to continue to grow both channels, which is a lot, but I'm excited about it. And there is some other things in the works for this upcoming season. More about Preston Automotive Group. You guys know I've been in the Bobby Bronco now for, gosh, it'll be 2 years in October. And at Preston, subscribers of mine get access to 2 exclusive offers. One is $500 towards a newer pre-owned vehicle. And 2 is when you buy 4 tires, they're going to give you 50% off your alignment. Both of those offers can be redeemed by going into any dealership and telling them that Bobby sent you. You've got over 2,000 vehicles to choose from. Home delivery is available. You do not need to be in or around the Maryland area, per se, to work with Preston. Finding your next ride has never been easier. And when you shop with Preston, you're joining a trusted team serving Baltimore and beyond. Cars cost less with Preston. You can get started today by visiting PrestonMotor.com, which you can see on the screen. It's also linked in the show notes. There's also a pinned comment right now in the live chat, or just simply scan the QR code in the upper right-hand corner. And to show you a little bit about the site, just in case you're new and not familiar, those deals that I just mentioned are right here. Alyssa is an internet advisor or a chat bot that can get back to you within seconds. You can contact Preston or somebody from their team right here. The available inventory section, tons to choose from, over 3,400 at the moment. You can search by make, model, or keyword. Price, if you want to break it down into more specific categories, vehicle condition, year, make, model, dealership location. Look at all these ones you can choose from. My home one is Preston Ford West in Randallstown. You got one in Aberdeen. They're all over the Maryland area, and they even get into Delaware, and they're also on the Eastern Shore as well. So, tremendous partner of mine that continues to support this channel, continues to support everything that I'm building here in Baltimore and beyond, and it is very much appreciated. You can connect with them on Instagram as well. I actually saw they were just recently working with Ray Rice, former Ravens running back. And I'll go ahead and just show you quickly. And it's a good thing to follow Preston because we'll often do merch giveaways and memorabilia giveaways throughout the season. So go do me a favor and follow them on Instagram. I'll drop this into the live chat right now so you guys don't have to go and do an extra step. But would love for you to follow them. And you can do so, again, at Preston Automotive Group. And that'll bring you over here. And here's Ray working with the kids. 4th and 29 football camp. 400-plus Baltimore kids came out to learn and play the game they love. So good on Ray. Good on these kids for participating. Good on Preston for continuing to support the community. And I really appreciate them for supporting this channel. It's great to be back with you guys in the live format. I know some of you are probably thought that this may never happen again. Look, the summer is the summer, man. It's just a tough time of year, and I don't think it's ever really sustainable to do multi-stream days year-round. There's just not enough content for one, and two, it's straight up exhausting. But we're back now, and I am so ready for training camp to get underway, and we will be back. This will be our window, and I look forward to hanging with you guys from this point forward, back to our afternoon window. We'll get back to opening up the guest lines in the coming weeks and telling you about everything that we're building over on the Vault and cross-promoting and all that good stuff. Wanted to dive more into the Marcus Williams discussion from earlier today. I know Sarah and I covered it at length, but I wanted to kind of have a chance to chat a little bit more about it. And so in order to do that, I'll set up this clip that we shared earlier today on the Vault, and it comes from Teron Armstead, the former NFL tackle, a very successful one at that, and a former teammate of Marcus's in New Orleans. He just recently retired after 10-plus seasons and had Marcus on his YouTube channel for a conversation about all of this. And Marcus Williams, of course, was benched last year. The Ravens didn't look back. He didn't look back either, not like he had a choice. He remains unsigned right now as a safety that was recently cut after struggling mightily in Baltimore on the back end. Here he is talking about what went wrong for the Ravens, and I should say for him in a Ravens uniform last year.
I just think it was just a lot of miscommunication from the top down. There's a lot of stuff on my side that I could have done better. Of course, I take accountability for whatever action that I did that they didn't like, but I didn't know what actions those were. But I take accountability for maybe missed opportunities, maybe missed plays that I could have done better on. But as far as the communication from the top down, I feel like it could have been better. They could have communicated properly and effectively so that there was no miscommunication when, the switch was going to occur. I mean, I played football for a long time. You don't just get bad overnight. And most people on the outside will believe that plays that were given up may have been on me, but they don't really know the depths of the coverage or what we were actually running, what we were told. They don't really know. But as a safety, my responsibility is to do whatever I can to show up in the screen and maybe possibly make a play. Yeah, I never throw anybody under the bus. I just try to keep it cool, and hopefully when you go in the meeting room, the coaches address it. And unfortunately, like when things happened last year, it wasn't addressed in that magnitude. So it all just ultimately somebody had to take the fall because the media's looking at it, the fans are looking at it, and somebody has to take the fall for what's going on. And even though it may not be my fault, I'm not going to come out and say, hey, this is such and such person. So for me, I wrote on my board, like every year, every week, I write on the board my goals, and I just said never lose my peace. Like nobody could take my peace, nobody could, bring me down, no matter what. Yeah, I was frustrated, upset about what was going on, but they were never going to take my peace, because once somebody takes your peace, they control you, and nobody's going to control me. So at the end of the day, I know what I could do. I know that I'm, if not the best safety in the league, I'm one of the best, and there's a lot of great safeties out there, but I just know what I could do personally as a safety. And when the change was made and there was no communication, it hurt. Get benched for a game and to be told like you just need to take a break, and just to come back the next game ball and then get sat again, it didn't make sense to me. But I didn't point the finger. I didn't say it was this guy. I didn't say it was that guy. I didn't say it was a coach. I said I'm not gonna talk about it. I'm gonna keep it 100. I'm gonna just keep it G. I ain't gonna say nothing about nothing in the media. It's all about the team. I don't want to make any distraction for my team, because I want us to be the best that we could be, and I want us to win. If we win, I'm happy. But It sucks sitting on the bench when you know what you could do. Make plays in practice. You go out in practice, you making plays versus the best quarterback in the league, right? But but you're not in the game. So I just kept doing everything I could. I approached everything as a pro, and that's just how I present myself, and that's what I try to teach my kids at my facility.
All right, long one to open up that interview, but I thought I should share the majority of it just to kind of get and give context. So, what you just heard, part of what you just heard, quote, first of all, before the quote, reading it, Marcus just broke his silence. I mean, this is the first time that he truly addressed what happened last year in a formal way. And we know that it was no coincidence that after he was benched, and it wasn't the only adjustment that was made, but things started going in a positive direction. And I think there's a correlation between the two. Part of the quote reads as follows: I take accountability for whatever actions I did that they didn't like, but I didn't know what actions those were. They could have communicated properly and effectively so there was no miscommunication when the switch was going to occur. I've played football for a long time. You don't just get bad overnight. I never throw anybody under the bus. Hopefully, when you go in the meeting room, the coaches address it. Unfortunately, when things happened last year, it wasn't addressed in that magnitude. Ultimately, somebody had to take the fall. That from 28-year-old Marcus Williams, who remains unsigned. Let's be clear here. This was a 5-year, $70 million man for the Ravens. They made an uncharacteristic splash in the offseason of 2021 into 2022 and brought him in after the Saints let him go. And his career in Baltimore started with promise. But then came injury, and then came this very strange, hopefully for Marcus's sake, outlier first half of 2024, where the Ravens were left with no other choice but to take him out of the equation. He was making business decisions. He didn't feel or look or play as if he was all in and invested. Marlon Humphrey, without naming names, essentially called him out at one point during a press conference scrum. And there were other players who spoke on this as well. Reality is this is a player that remains unsigned. And this is a player that after he was benched, like I mentioned, the defense nearly changed overnight. He and Eddie Jackson just do not have a lot of ground to stand on when it comes to defending themselves from a year ago. Look at this K. Adams graphic on the Ravens defense in 2024 and look at where they were in the bottom corridor weeks 1 through 10, statistically speaking. The 25th scoring defense, the 27th in total defensive metrics, dead last against the pass, 30th on third down, tied for 20th in the red zone and 26th in opponent passer rating. That was weeks 1 through 10 when Marcus was playing. Now, Eddie was playing as well. Zach Orr was getting his feet wet. I know some of you might be out there thinking and saying it was a perfect storm. And in some cases, that might be. But there's a correlation here. This is too obvious, almost painstakingly obvious, and it's right in front of our face. Look at the turnaround weeks 13 through 18 after these adjustments were made. They leapfrogged to first in every single one of those categories that I just mentioned to you. Scoring defense, total defense, pass defense, third down percentage, red zone defense, and opponent passer rating. I think we know why, or at least part of the reason as to knowing why. More on Marcus, on his sort of quiet demeanor and why that can be misconstrued in his mind.
Most people see me as like, they don't see me in the media, they don't see me clapping back or talking back in the media, and they're like, oh, he don't care. But there's one thing I do is I care, and I'm overly competitive. I'm about my business. I do everything the right way. So to do stuff the right way, to treat people the right way, to practice the right way, to watch film, to do everything the right way, it hurts when there's a lack of communication, and that's what I was most hurt about. I could have done with, hey, you know what, you've been doing this wrong, and then sit me, opposed to, hey, you're done, right? But if I come out and start, bashing my teammates, bashing my friends, then I'm a cancer in the locker room, and I don't want to be that type of guy. So I just keep it on the hush. I'm not a flashy person. I'm not a big talker. But when I'm probably done with football, I'm gonna be the one saying like, this is what happened, this is how it happened, and I'm gonna just keep it real because nobody really knows what's really going on in the locker room besides the people in the locker room, unless that person says it. And once you do that, you're a cancer to the team.
So I've watched the entire interview at this point, and to me, it reeks of essentially trying to drum up some level of interest and dialogue about the unsigned free agent that is Marcus Williams. There's a reason why he's unsigned right now, and I would have to think the majority of that reason has to do with what he put on film last year. So these guys are former teammates. Tehran's just beginning his media career, or seemingly his creator career on YouTube, and I think he's doing him a solid. He had some very nice things to say, by the way, to Marcus, to his face, about their time in New Orleans together and how admirable it was and impressive it was that Marcus bounced back from being on the wrong side of the Minneapolis Miracle. And by the way, I thought that Marcus did handle himself well and as a pro last year, and did show a lot of resilience and toughness and fortitude in 2023 when he was quite literally playing through a torn pec. But that's not what this is about. It's about what he put on tape or didn't put on tape this past season through 10 weeks. That's what this is about. And so this kind of felt like a PR stunt in a way to try and get a team interested in Marcus Williams. Did it backfire? I don't know. Cole Jackson, spoiler alert, there might be a new show coming to the Ravens community this upcoming season. We got some things in the works. Stay tuned. Don't want to get too ahead of my skis. But Cole says from what he heard, Marcus Williams hated Doug Mallory, and they bickered constantly. Doug was on Zach Orr's defensive staff in the secondary. Huge reason for the fall. But if you're going to go on a podcast and call out an organization, be real about the reason. Timing of the bench decision is irrelevant when bad play came first. So out with Doug Mallory, in with Donald DeLessio from Kansas City, in with Chuck Pagano, in with Tyler Santucci, but that's the middle part of the defense. Continued in with Dean Pease. His son's on the staff as well. Out with last year's inside linebackers coach, Mark DeLeon. And so now there's a lot of change, and you would think this change is going to be for the better. How could it get any worse than what they put forth through 10 weeks last year? And look at Marcus individually. Good God. The Detroit and Tampa games really stick out like a sore thumb. Or excuse me, not the Detroit game. I'm talking about the Cincinnati game, the Tampa game, the Kansas City game. I mean, none of these really look good besides Buffalo, Cincy, and Washington, weeks 4 through 6. But this was a player that struggled mightily. And when your back end is struggling, all three levels are going to struggle. And that's why I'll continue to be optimistic, cautiously optimistic, about a player like Trenton Simpson, who not only was attempting to drink from the fire hose as a full-fledged first-year starter with Patrick Queen having left in free agency the year prior. But also not a ton of coverage, not a ton of reliability on the back end. One more from Marcus, who was asked if he had a message for Ravens Nation.
I appreciate all the fans. I appreciate the coaches. I appreciate them giving me the opportunity. I appreciate them blessing me. It's a blessing to be able to play for the Ravens, a great organization. Many of greats have come through there, and I'm very appreciative of them. I mean, they blessed me and my family, and I wouldn't change doing any of that for the world, because ultimately I got paid, and I feel like I played through injuries over there. I went through a torn pec, dislocated my wrist, and I still played, and I still had great plays. So to have a dislocated wrist, come back in the same year, get a pick the first game I come back, then the next year tear my pec, no surgery, only missed 3 games, come back, I put it all on the line for the Ravens.
Come back, AFC Championship game,
and play in the AFC Championship. I played throughout the whole year, hurt, tore pec, and at the end of the day, I know what I brought to the table. I'm hungry. I'm never giving up. I'm never backing down, and no matter what adversity I'm faced with, I know I'm gonna overcome it. So whatever they did, whatever happened last year, I know I'm just gonna overcome that, because there's people that have worse stuff going on in the world than me getting benched in football. So I know I'm gonna overcome that as well.
Again, nobody's questioned the guy's toughness, durability in a sense, even though he has struggled with injuries at times throughout his career. Like that's not the question. The question is what happened and what led to a meteoric drop-off last season through 10 weeks. And do you have, the Ravens don't care about this, but perhaps 31 other teams do. Do you have more left in the tank? And to reiterate, what the hell happened from 23 to 24? Because that is not the Marcus Williams that the Ravens invested $70 million over 5 years in, and would ultimately not just not fulfill the contract, but not earn what they were so willing to uncharacteristically spend on him back in 2022. Strange, and certainly will go down as one of Eric DeCosta's more forgettable, I don't know if it's forgettable, but you know what I mean, more underwhelming extensions that he divvied out during free agency, which again is not like the Ravens to do when it comes to spending that kind of money. While we're on the topic of DBs, Arthur Maulet, who was unsigned until 10 minutes ago, having spent some years in Baltimore over the last couple, he is joining the Houston Texans. Was that English? He's joining the Houston Texans. So Arthur Maulet, unfortunately, he was banged up throughout the majority of last year, which was really a bummer because he's a hard-hitting corner that understands the nickel assignment, that understands and has a knack for the timing of certain blitz packages. Had a tremendous 2023 with Mike McDonald as defensive coordinator. He goes to Houston. His football career continues. Best of luck. Best of luck to Arthur Maulet. He is a hooper, as they say. And we'll finish with Ryan Clark on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens when it comes to who, well, Molly sets him up. But I will tell you, his answer does not surprise me, and I don't necessarily disagree with it. I'll tell you why. When it comes to pressure.
Detroit, the team under the most pressure to get it done and win the Super Bowl?
Absolutely not. It's the Baltimore Ravens. The Baltimore Ravens have had one of the greatest players in football since Lamar Jackson's rookie year. The Baltimore Ravens have walked into the playoffs as the number 1 seed. They've hosted the AFC Championship game and never been past that. This is a team that has a Super Bowl winning coach. This is a team that's had a number one defense. You have a two-time MVP at the quarterback position. Last year, you had a 1,900-yard rusher. Now, you lost Zay Flowers late in that season, which was big, right? He had some injuries, and so he wasn't available versus Buffalo. You have the drop by Mark Andrews, but there is no quarterback. There is no team that's been closer, or that we have thought to ourselves at different points of a season that they were the best, that hasn't gotten it done yet. And so to me, it's the Ravens.
First of all, I'm with you, Steve. It's a very oversaturated, overused topic this time of year. Who's under the most pressure? Pressure. Okay, so let me be clear on that. It's a very stale topic point, which is why I didn't build the stream around it. Instead, went with the Lamar potential recruiting aspect and Judon, and then just kind of tailoring it into the outside linebacker position and what they currently have and what they might need in the coming weeks. But I agree with Ryan, because I actually think that the way that he holds Lamar Jackson to this certain standard is actually the highest form of flattery. And I do believe that Lamar and the Ravens are the most pressure-packed team. And again, that is a form of flattery. They have been oh so close, and they have the best quarterback in the entire league when it comes to regular season, and he's on the upward trajectory in the postseason, which has been the most covered talking point for years now. I think it's a form of flattery, and I think it's a compliment. And that's really all the analysis that I have, because, again, it is an overused topic point, but it is one that I think can ultimately, tell you how fond certain people are around the league of these Ravens. And I guess just the question becomes is, will we be fond of them in January of 2026? That remains to be seen. Check out the Discord server if you haven't already done so. It's a great growing community. We have 875 members now, and I'll show you what it looks like for those of you who have not yet joined. And I got to tell you, well, first of all, shout out to Matt Sproat, and shout out to Ray, and a number of other folks who've joined this group. You do get a notification shout out when you join. And look at all the different rooms that you have to choose from. By the way, this is a brand new one. Bobby After Dark, I guess sponsored by somebody's cat, Mike M's cat. Another one of Mike M's cat. We don't usually show photos of each other's pets in this group. Maybe I got that started with Tilly yesterday. Oh, look at Evan's pup. And Jabo's cat. There's Tilly. Okay, never mind. I did get it started with little Tiltil. There she is. There's my boxer lab mix. There's my little girl that literally cannot leave me be. I like take one step in the other room and she like freaks out and flies, darts across the room. I jump into the lake this past weekend. She darts into the lake, jumps on my neck. Discord, 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. The newest channel is Bobby After Dark. That ought to be fun. Who knows what the hell this thing's going to consist of. And if we keep scrolling, it might get hairy. So why don't I just go to a different one? Like the swag showcase, where folks show off memorabilia, merch, you name it. Basketball chat is brand new. Looks like the former Terp, Derek Queen, just underwent a successful surgery. It's too bad for him. Going to derail the start to his rookie season. Caps hockey, obviously in the hockey off season right now, so it's quiet, but that was buzzing. That was buzzing during the postseason. Baseball, of course, is constantly chatting about the Orioles. Football's primarily Ravens. There's always something going on in here. So yeah, go check it out. 24/7 hub for conversation surrounding Baltimore sports. You get access to a number of different things like thevaultpod.com. And if you guys aren't familiar yet, Sarah and I were thrilled to officially roll out what we've been working on. It's really been months in the making, and that is our first ever apparel line. That is not what I wanted. I wanted to show you thevaultpod.com before I get on out of here. So you can visit the vaultpod.com, and it's available to the public beginning on Wednesday at midnight. But we actually just had Carly, our designer, add some new items that we're pretty excited about. These Under Armour polos are 2 of them. And then this like dry fit workout shirt is another one of them. And if you click in it, you can see it's $34.99, and it comes in like 5 or 6 different colors. It looks like gray, black, white. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah, 3 different colors for that one. And then, well, once you get to the site, you have to press shop. I know Sarah's going to be rocking the tanks during her workouts upcoming. The bucket hats are new, which is perfect for training camp. This is kind of dope, isn't it? Can't you see yourself wearing that to this white version right here to one winning drive on like a 100-degree day? Hell yeah. $24.99. Would love for you guys to check it out. Much more coming on that too. TheVaultPod.com. Channel membership is now available on this channel as well, so we can find a way to have as much fun as we've been having on the Vault with that, if we so choose. This episode is brought to you by Preston Automotive Group. And I got to get back into the flow of things. My brain has not been firing at the rate that I would like it to, because I'm not used to broadcasting in the 4 o'clock hour, and I've been up since 5. So anyway, it's great to be back in this space. It's great to continue yet another live season of coverage. Sarah and I will continue to be in the noon slot for the rest of the way, year-round, daily, and I will start to mix and match with certain times, typically late afternoon, is when I will start doing this as well, getting back into the flow of things after spending this summer, not only traveling, not only taking a step back from this channel, but also working on a number of other projects that I'm excited to roll out in the coming weeks before we get ready for football season. So appreciate you guys as always. Chris McAllister joins the Vault tomorrow at 12:30, and I look forward to it. So yeah. Catch you guys soon. Join the Discord, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already done so. Hit that notification bell. The guest lines will open up at some point. I promise. I know Dre Dog is chomping at the bit. I'm sure Manuel is sitting out there as well. Mr. Manny, Mexico City Manny's probably thinking to himself, when the hell can I get back on that channel? Guy likes to call in every day. Look forward to it. We'll get back to it. There will be a dating update. There will be a personal life update, all that good stuff and more. So stay tuned. Enjoy the rest of your Mondays. I'll catch up with you guys soon. Later.